Today I'm doing a top 10 list of my favorite Sylvester Stallone films on physical media. So let's rock this. Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz. So I've got a little bit of unfinished business to tend to today. A few months back, I put together a list of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and I had always intended to follow that list up with a list of my favorite Stallone movies, just for, a sense of balance and some symmetry, right, on this channel. Because I'm certainly a big fan of both of these action icons. I love their work equally as much. But after I made that Arnold video back in September, I got so wrapped up with spooky season and my horror marathon in October and then eventually Christmas that I unfortunately let old Sly fall by the wayside a bit. So for my fellow Stallone fans out there, I wanted to do Sly some justice here and make sure that Stallone was well represented on this channel along with Arnold. So today I finally put together a list of my top 10 favorite Sylvester Stallone movies on physical media. And of course, I'll also have a few honorable mentions at the end of the list, so make sure you stick around for that. But before I get into this list, I do have a few shout outs here real quick. New members of the Fuzz Club. I just activated the Fuzz Club a few days ago, and we have some inaugural members here that I want to make sure get the recognition they so richly deserve. The first shout out is to Atlas Asaliar at DoomRaven0. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Atlas just became a member of the Fuzz Club this weekend. And in fact, Atlas, I believe you have the distinction of being the very first Fuzz Club member. Atlas has been a huge supporter of this channel and always has such kind things to say in the comments. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate that. Likewise to Joel Ocampo. Joel's also been a big supporter of this channel at 73 Ocampo. Thank you so much, Joel, for becoming a member of the Fuzz Club. Your support means the world to me. Also, Nick at Movie AV Impulse. Nick has been a big supporter of this channel for, I think, since early on in the channel's life, if I'm not mistaken. And Nick's a great guy. In fact, he's not just supportive of this channel, but he's been supportive of the physical media YouTube community in general. He's always cheering on and supporting other physical media channels like this one. And he's also got a great channel of his own that I would highly recommend you guys check out. He has some very passionate and fearless content that's very entertaining and that I personally really dig. Nick's a great guy. Nick, you rock. Thank you so much for becoming a Fuzz Club member. Nick and I are also going to be doing something at some point. We talked about doing a bit of a collaboration or whatnot. So I expect that I will be over on his channel in the not too distant future. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you give his channel some love. Give him a sub over there and check out some of his videos. Movie AV Impulse. Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate that. And then the final shout out is to Ken at Ungraduated Media. Ken has also been a big supporter of this channel from, I think, pretty early on. And he's just a great guy all the way around. Also, be sure to check out Ken's channel at Ungraduated Media and give him some love over there. Give him a sub. Check out some of his videos. He's got some great content going on over there. Some very thoughtful analysis of physical media, both movies, but also music and books and whatnot. He offers some great perspective on his channel, so make sure you give his channel some love too. Ken and I have also talked about doing some collaborating at some point in the future, so I very much look forward to getting together with Ken either on his channel or this channel and seeing what we can come up with. Ken, thank you so much for becoming a Fuzz Club member. All of you guys are awesome. So thank you all so much for joining the Fuzz Club and being a part of this emerging community. If you'd like to learn more about the Fuzz Club, I put a link in the video description below. You can just click on that and it'll bring up a little pop-up that'll show you all the options and tell you about the perks. Or you can just click that join button below as well and it'll do the same thing. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get right into this list of my favorite Stallone flicks. At number 10 is Tango and Cash, which I have in this Stallone multi-pack here. No, it's not Cobra, it's Tango and Cash. That's what I'm referring to here. And that's a great film. I just watched this not that long ago and just had a blast with it. Of course, it wasn't my first time watching it. I've seen it a number of times over the years. But just great chemistry between Stallone and Kurt Russell. It's a fun buddy cop flick, and yeah, I just really dig it. Plus, you can't go wrong with Jack Palance as the bad guy. He's amazing. I remember I used to watch Jack Palance on Ripley's Believe It or Not back in the 80s, and I always got a kick out of him. Anything Jack Palance is in, he tends to elevate it a little bit. He's just an awesome bad guy, and he's perfect in Tango and Cash. So if by some chance you've never seen Tango and Cash, you should definitely check it out. It's a really fun ride. So, and I'll probably be holding up this multi-pack a couple more times throughout this list. Unfortunately, that's the downside of having all the films in a single thing here, right? Because you know, you don't have the individual movie cases or the individual movie poster art on each case. So, but you know what? That's the way it goes, and we'll just have to go with that for now. Next up, for number 9, I chose Rambo: First Blood Part 2. Always loved this film. Saw it in the theater with my dad in 1985 when it came out, and I can remember being really excited for this sequel because at the time we didn't know any sequels were ever going to be coming, right? All we had was First Blood at that point up when this was released. So this was super exciting at the time. I was like bouncing off the walls when I found out this movie was coming out. The funny thing about this is I never saw the first film in the theater. I wish I had, but I was just a little bit too young. I was kind of like right on the verge of what my parents would be okay letting me see. But I was old enough for this one when it came out, and I had seen First Blood on cable TV in the years between the release of the first film and this one. So I was well familiar with it, and that's part of why I was so excited when this came out. Anyway, just a great action-packed, fun ride. I don't think there's too much I can say about this. You guys all know what Rambo is here, right? But so yeah, Rambo for my number 9. Moving on to number 8. Another one of these deals where I've got all the films in a single collection. I'm choosing Rocky 3. For this one. I never actually upgraded to 4K for the Rocky films. Honestly, I'm perfectly fine with just this Blu-ray. And I'll tell you why. Like, I love Rocky 3. I think it's a great film. It's actually my favorite Rocky film, which I guess is a little bit of a spoiler that you're not going to see any other Rocky films on the top 10 list. And that's just because I've never really been as into Rocky as other people who are Stallone fans. Like there's a lot of other Stallone films I like a lot more than the Rocky movies. And part of that's just because I'm not a big sports guy, right? I'm not a big sports fan. I never have been. But the Rocky movies are entertaining. I do like them. And Rocky 3 is my favorite. Clubber Lang. You got to love Mr. T in that. And I love that, that Apollo Creed helps Rocky train for this whole thing with Clubber Lang. And it's just a great film all the way around. And I always have a blast watching it whenever I return to it. So yeah, at number 8, Rocky 3. Next up for number 7, I've got a prison flick here that I've always really dug, and that is Lock Up. This is another one I actually saw in the theater when it first came out. There are quite a few Stallone films I saw in the theaters. There's about a 10-year period there where I feel like I saw most of what was released in theaters. I actually saw it in theaters. But I've always enjoyed Lock Up. You got a killer performance here from Donald Sutherland as the evil, vindictive warden. And it's just a great film all the way around. Not really an action-packed film as much. It's a different kind of film for Stallone, but it's a great film, and it's just a really entertaining ride and an engaging film as well. So if you've never seen Lock Up, you should definitely check it out. And the 4K restoration looks solid. No complaints here at all. Just a great film all the way around. So yeah, Lock Up at my number 7. Next up for number 6, I got to whip out my Stallone Mega Pack again. In this case, we're talking about The Specialist. I love The Specialist. That's my number 6. Great film. You got Sharon Stone in this. You got Eric Roberts. And you just got a killer performance from James Woods as the bad guy. It may be actually my favorite film that James Woods has been in, my favorite performance from James Woods. I've always been a big James Woods fan, but I love the bad guy that he plays in The Specialist. Just a really good job with that. And it's in fact, I think you could make the case that he almost steals the show from Stallone in this movie. That's how good James Woods is in it. The movie centers around a couple of explosives experts who are more or less on opposite sides of the good versus bad spectrum. It's also got some pretty steamy stuff with between Stallone and Sharon Stone in it, which I would have never expected to see. But it's another one I saw in the theater when it first came out, and just really enjoyed it. So yeah, The Specialist is a great film. If you've never seen it, check it out at some point. At number 5, another one coming from the multi-pack here, and that is Demolition Man from 1993. Great Stallone film with Wesley Snipes and Sandra Bullock. One thing I like about this film is it's almost kind of satirical, right? It's almost kind of making fun of this futuristic, what I think is supposed to be like a utopian society that clearly can't handle its own shit. Right? Anytime they have to deal with like a real bad guy with real skills or whatnot, yeah, they're not prepared to deal with really conflict of any kind in this futuristic society because they've just become a bunch of snowflakes and are total softballs on everything, right? They get freaked out about you swearing. Right? But it's actually a really funny movie as well. Not only is it totally action-packed with, you know, Wesley Snipes and Stallone going head-to-head, but it's actually a pretty amusing movie as well. So I've always just had a lot of fun with this one. And yeah, if you've never seen Demolition Man, you should definitely check it out at some point. It's a great ride. Okay, next up at number 4, another prison film, and also a film that's a little bit later in Stallone's career, and that would be Escape Plan. This is a great movie. I love this flick. And, you know, it's got a great cast as well. You know, it's not just Stallone, but you got Arnold in here, Stallone and Arnold together, which that alone makes it cool. But you've also got just an amazing performance from Jim Caviezel, who plays this sinister warden. Who's awesome. He does such a great job with the role. And it's one of the better prison films, I think, that I've ever seen. Just because I love the unique nature of the prison in this particular film. They do something a little bit different with the prison that you don't see in other types of prison films. It's like the ultimate maximum security prison. So yeah, just a great film all the way around. If you've never seen this one and you're into prison films, yeah, this is definitely one you should check out because it's, like I said, one of my favorite prison films, I think, that I've ever seen. Of course, it's not going to hold a candle to something like Escape from Alcatraz, don't get me wrong, but it's a great film, and I think it's one of the better later career Stallone films as well. So, yep, Escape Plan at number 4. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell as well so you can be alerted when I'm posting videos that you might be interested in. Also, don't forget to like the video. It really helps with the channel's visibility, helps with the algorithm. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Okay, moving on to number 3, we have Cliffhanger in 4K. Awesome looking 4K, by the way. This looks amazing. You know, you get some really good stuff with all the outdoor location shooting and all the scenery and whatever. Yeah, this looks really awesome in 4K, and I would highly recommend it in 4K if you're a fan of this film but haven't upgraded to 4K yet, because it's a great disc. It looks stunning in 4K. But let's set aside that for now. Just a great film all the way around. You got John Lithgow here playing the bad guy in this one, and he just does an amazing job as the bad guy. This movie has got everything you could want in a Stallone film. It's action-packed, it's suspenseful, it's got a killer bad guy. Yeah, you just can't go wrong with this title, and I've always loved it. So yeah, Cliffhanger for my number 3. Okay, for my number 2, and this time the image actually fits, and that is Cobra. You just can't go wrong with Cobra. Great film, great kind of murder mystery. at the same time as an action film. Yeah, I've talked about this before on the channel. I don't know how much I can really say about it. I think most of you Stallone fans know what this is. But if you happen to be one of the few Stallone fans out there who's never seen Cobra, it's a must-own for any Stallone fan, for any Stallone collection. So I won't say too much about Cobra. We'll move on to my number one here. But yeah, at number two, Cobra. Always thought it was a great film, and it's a yearly watch for me right around Christmas time. And for my number one, we have, of course, First Blood. I've always been a huge fan of this film. It's by far my favorite Stallone film. And this one, kind of like Cobra, has a lot of rewatch value for me as well. This one I can watch over and over again and never really get sick of it. I've always been a big fan of this film, and I'm not really sure how much I can really say about it at this point because I have talked about it a number of times on this channel before, but just an awesome film all the way around. And yeah, so number one, First Blood. Okay, so that about wraps up my top 10 list, but I do have just a few quick honorable mentions that I wanted to touch on here. Bringing back the heavyweight collection again, the first honorable mention is Rocky IV. Next to Rocky 3, that's my other favorite Rocky film. I've always liked 3 and 4 more than 1 and 2. So yeah, big fan of Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. Had to at least mention 4 in the honorables. Love it. I mean, you can't go wrong with, Apollo Creed taking on Dolph Lundgren and, having it not work out quite so well, right? That was a really impactful moment in that film. So, yeah, you just can't go wrong with a film like that. So, yeah, Rocky IV for my first honorable mention. Another honorable mention that I definitely wanted to touch on is Assassins, again from the multi-pack here. Assassins is a lot of fun, and you got a really cool cast. Stallone, of course, and Julianne Moore, who looks amazing in this film, by the way. And then, of course, Antonio Banderas as the rival, the antagonist here. So yeah, I've always loved Assassins. It's another one I saw in the theater when it first came out. And yeah, it's just a fun, action-packed ride all the way around. So if you've never seen Assassins, check it out at some point. Of course, I got to give a quick mention to Judge Dredd. This movie is... it's kind of amusing, isn't it? I mean, I find it really entertaining, but it's kind of over the top, isn't it? The costumes, the sets, everything looks a little over the top in this one, including the villain here, Armand Assante. He's totally over the top in his performance. It's to the point where it's amusing, right? You can't help but chuckle a little bit when you're watching Armand Assante do his thing, right? So, and like I said, the costumes are like super over the top and super flamboyant for this type of futuristic story. So, but yeah, I've always gotten a kick out of Judge Dredd, so I figured it was worth at least mentioning. And then finally, I wanted to talk about Copland. Copland is a great film, but I didn't include it on my top 10 because I've only seen the film once, and it was many, many years ago when it was relatively new. But Copland is a great film. It's a very different kind of role for Stallone, a very different kind of film for Stallone. It's more of a very serious, like, crime drama almost, and it's got just a ridiculously good cast. I mean, you've got Harvey Keitel, you've got Robert De Niro, you've got Ray Liotta, you've got, who else? Robert Patrick. And then in the middle of all this is Stallone just kind of doing his thing. But it really is a good film. And like I said, it's been so long since I've seen it that that's the main reason I didn't put it in my top 10 list. I think you could easily make the case that this film should be a top 10 Stallone film, but I need to revisit it. It's a very well-done crime drama that deals with police corruption and I believe mob ties, if I remember right. And it's one I'm definitely planning on picking up on Blu-ray. But from what I remember, it was a really well-done film and one that I would highly recommend for anybody who's a Stallone fan but wants to see more of a serious side to Stallone's whole groove, right? This really is more of a serious role for Stallone. So yeah, Copland for my last honorable mention. So that about wraps it up for my top 10 favorite Sylvester Stallone flicks. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What are some of your favorite Stallone flicks? What do you think of my list? You guys know I always love hearing from you, so make sure you drop some feedback down below. Also, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.